Well, good morning and welcome to today's episode of Transform. Today I want to tell you, burn the boats.
Welcome to today's message with Pastor Jim Balzano.
Before I continue, as always, I want to thank Park Home and Made by Vogel for many of the items that you see in our studio. We've been doing a number of podcasts on Gideon and his willingness to get out of the wine press and leave the certainty of what he knew into the unknown where God was taking him. I'm transitioning, same theme, but I'm transitioning to Elisha for a moment today. And so let me begin with this though. According to many historians, Hernan Cortez, along with 600 Spaniards, 16 horses, and 11 boats, landed on a plateau known as Mexico. They were about to embark on a journey to some of the world's greatest treasures, but would need to conquer the land in order to gain it. But with only 600 men, the task would seem almost impossible. For over 600 years, would-be conquerors had unsuccessfully colonized the Yucatan Peninsula. Upon landing in Mexico, Cortez spent time on the beach making speeches to his men to inspire an adventurous and conquering spirit. Speeches that would stir up the spirit of the men. But there were three words that many believe changed the history of the New World. And those three words were, burn the boats. There would only be two outcomes for Cortez and his men, victory or death. There would be no retreat, as the means of retreat had been removed from the equation. Ultimately, Cortez and his men were victorious and became the first conquerors of Mexico in over 600 years. How different the battle is when the option of retreat is removed from our lives. Now, certainly, I'm not sitting here endorsing Cortez conquering a people. Sometimes we use these as analogies without actually endorsing what was taking place. But the principle is that you and I would live a life of no retreat, no surrender when it comes to the spiritual things of God. Near the end of his life, Elijah, the great prophet of God, received word from God to appoint Elisha as his successor. Upon hearing the word from God, Elijah went in search of Elisha, and he found him plowing a field, most likely that belonged to his father. Here's what the scripture says. So he, Elijah, departed from there and found Elisha while he was plowing with 12 pairs of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Elijah passed over to him and threw his mantle upon him. Now, we know very little about Elisha prior to this moment. We don't know what it was that exactly caused God to select him as his successor for Elijah. Scripture is silent concerning his life prior to this moment. However, what we can learn from Elisha from this point forward is amazing. Now imagine, you are Elisha, plowing with your father's field hitched up to 12 pair of oxen, and you with the 12th. You're sweating, you're weary, and you're working hard when all of a sudden you spot Elijah, the prophet of God, in your field. What would your first thought have been? Mine might have been, oh no, what did I do? Now envision the old prophet coming up to you and taking off his mantle, and he put it upon your shoulders. It was a divine as well as a defining moment in the life of Elisha. Elijah, under God's direction, was summoning Elisha to take the mantle of prophetic authority upon himself. The invitation was clear. The mandate was before him. Elisha would now need to make a decision. Would he follow Elijah, or would he stay with what he's always known? Plowing his father's field was hard work, but it was predictable. It was something he knew how to do, and it was something that was reasonably safe. He chose, though, however, to follow by running after Elijah. But first, he made a request to go back and kiss his father and mother. And then Elijah asked him a puzzling question. He says, go back, for what have I done to you? Some believe this is more of a rhetorical question, or even a rebuke in his delay in following. Others think he was saying to Elisha, go back, but remember what I have done to you. No matter the reason behind the question of Elijah, what Elisha did next became a defining moment. It was a moment that would say, I'm all in. It was a moment that said, I'm never going back to the old life. Listen to what the scripture says he did. So he, Elisha returned from following him, and he took up the pair of oxen, and he sacrificed them, and he boiled their flesh with the implements of the oxen, and he gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he arose, and he followed Elijah, and he ministered to him. Cortez burned his boats so there would be no chance of retreat. Elisha sacrificed his oxen, burned his implements, and gave the meat to the people. He was all in. It was not a half-hearted decision to accept the call of God upon his life. He would not flippantly say, I think I'll go, maybe I'll come back. No, he's saying, this is it, I'm in. There will be no return to the old for him. He was going to embrace the future with gusto. He didn't know what the future would hold. I'm not sure he even knew that he would have the prophetic voice to kings, to be a rampart in the face of evil. I'm not even sure that he knew what the miracles that God would work through him. I'm sure his future was a little bit hazy with uncertainty. But one thing was for certain, he wasn't going back. He eliminated that opportunity. I'm certain there are moments when maybe Elisha thought to himself, man, why didn't I stick with the oxen? They're a whole lot easier than people. They're easier to deal with than these people. My goodness, I should have stuck with those cows. I should have stuck with those oxen. They're not hard. But you know what? When it's all said and done, I'm certain he had no regrets about the day he decided to venture into the unknown future that was only known by God. You know, what about you? Has God been calling you to leave something, to leave the known for the unknown? If he has, let me say to you, burn the boat, burn the boats, kill your oxen. Don't hedge, don't hedge your bet, but rather go all in. Some only remove all their options only after God has revealed everything to them. But a true step of faith will remove them first. Elisha made a bold declaration that said, I will leave the known for the unknown. And I'm going to go into this uncertainty with courage and with faith. I'm going to walk into this, and I'm all in. I'm going to burn the oxen. So let me give you some advice today. If God's calling you, and God's telling you to put a dream in your heart, if he's put something, a calling upon your life, if he's trying to get you out of that wine press, if you will, if he's trying to take you into an unknown future, go into it with gusto. Burn everything that takes you back and head where God has called you to go. I promise you it'll be worth it. Have a great week.